Have you ever noticed when sometimes things get really complicated and really tricky? It seems like you're looking for this sense of calling and purpose, and it's really hard to find, especially when running to a church. One of the things that I'm interested in and have shared a little bit about already is finding a way to connect with that nudge that's inside of us, kind of that stirring, that questioning, that's saying like, hey, I think there's something bigger out there. And it's like, once we like tease out religion, Christianity, the church, we still have a lot of those nudges that remain, but a lot of difficulty in finding some of the guidance around that. At least that was my experience. I've been really interested in like finding that relationship, fostering that relationship, trying to get more information about that relationship, but a lot of times it's just hard to come by. And so a few years ago, actually, in 2018, I started doing it consistently. I was writing every single day. I write for at least an hour every morning, and sometimes it's a little more inspired than others. But I wanted to share something that I wrote this morning, and it's kind of 5 years on the other side of what I call Life 1.0. And Life 1.0 was like really living the American dream, the kind of bought into the fairy tale story about what life could be and is. And then all of a sudden years passed and I realized, I'm like, that's not really, there will be a lot of selling, getting into the concept of the American dream. And then there's very little support in how to maintain it and how to keep it. And so one of the things that, as I was kind of on the way out of Life 1.0, sometimes I call it Life 1.5, and then getting to Life 2.0, was writing. And it brought me a tremendous amount of comfort. And one of the things that I realized today that kind of occurred to me is that, you know, sometimes we have like a lot of momentum or interest, or like kind of in the quiet hours, we think like, oh, I could be doing this. This is what I really want to do. And then the next day goes by and like nothing really happens from it. Like it just doesn't grow. It doesn't get any bigger. And I realized that I've often thought about that as not heeding that call and not leaning into what I feel like I've been purposed to do, because I was really afraid of embarrassment. It's like, well, my friends are my friends, my family is my family. I can make more friends. I can invest in the friendships I already have, but it's kind of set at this point. There really isn't all that much more. All that to be said, like I'm maybe avoiding jumping into my true calling and purpose out of fear of embarrassment around people that I don't really genuinely care about me, and perhaps arguably like are not the relationships that I want to invest in either. And it just got to me thinking, like, there's got to be something a little bit more than embarrassment, because it just surprises me that that's what it would be. While I think there is a big component of embarrassment, what I also realized this morning, like kind of the key takeaway, is that I have been waiting for permission to do the thing. I was thinking about this in the context of wanting to teach. That's something I really enjoy doing, and I used to do it at a university. But it was like, if I were to do that now, I would need someone to hire me, or I would need to go sell myself to teach. Like it would kind of be at the expense or the final decision making of someone else. If I wanted to preach, it's kind of funny that teach and preach rhyme, but if I wanted to preach, it's like, well, I can't do that because I'm a female in a lot of different arenas. I also have found that it's really hard to even get advice or support or input, feedback from a lot of churches, because the way that the kind of female role inside of that space just shows up a lot differently for some. Just not the kind that works for me, but it's sometimes the style of teaching and the energy of worship and so forth. And like, I really enjoy the people, but when I go to ask the pastor for help, it's like, as a woman, and then it's like, oh, there for a while, it's like as a single woman, you're like really left out on your own. so I was like kind of waiting for permission to do that. And it's like, gosh, there's these like amazing women who have done some really cool things, and like the Joyce Meyers of the world I really identify with. And then there's also just a gap in the content I've noticed where it just feels like the roll up your sleeves, dig in, dive in, like really start to talk about the tough stuff and the heart of the matter, and not decorate it, not kind of fill it up and not fluff it up, and not use a lot of they're just analogies that didn't work for me. And all of that, I've like really like had this desire. It's like, okay, I want to share like what I'm learning about my relationship with God and how it's helpful, about the digging into the Bible that I've been doing lately, because a lot of the things that I've been led to believe, that society's taught me, that my childhood taught me, that was in a really religious or a really strong religious background, like, is that really biblical? And then I go dive in and I find out that it's not. So a lot of the shame that we carry around from us, kind of under this banner of heaven, under this banner of the Bible, under this banner of the spoken word of God, I'm realizing isn't true. So when I wanted to investigate things, and then I went ahead of a further conversation about it, like, it just blows my mind that I'm like, wow, a lot of this is kind of bolt-on opinions, thoughts, concepts, desires that's coming in from other area, like other influences, that's trying to kind of create like this orderly society. One of the things that I've noticed that was extremely profound to me was right at the very beginning of the Bible. And I'd love to do like a whole session on this all together. But when we think through the creation story and kind of the days that on this day, God created this, on this day, God created that, a really quick tip is, or a really quick kind of hint to all of this is at the very beginning of that, he created light. He separated the lightness from the darkness. And a day later, he created the sun and the moon. And as an adult, I'm like, wow, that's something really curious to me. I've never heard it presented that way. I've never thought about it that way. I've never read it literally that way. And there's a lot of things that, as I start to do my own investigating, that I'm learning and unpacking. And I'm like, I don't know that this was originally how it was intended. And so that's kind of an aside to the point of all of this. But what I learned this morning is that I have been originally thinking that a lot of the reason why I'm not getting involved in heeding this calling that I feel like I have, or exploring it, is because I've thought that it's all based on embarrassment. And again, I'm not discounting it and saying it's not, but I think until just recently, it's like I've been waiting for some external source to give me permission to do it. Whether it's go teach, whether it's go preach, whether it's create something that I feel I'm not exactly credentialed for. One thing that I do have a credential of is I have a divorce certificate, and I feel like that does qualify me to some degree to talk about it. I also have probably 30 notebooks that I've written in diligently for the past 7-8 years. And so when I think about like, what does day 30 after divorce really look like? Like, what are some of those thoughts that are rattling around? What are some of the thoughts that led me up to day 30 or got me to day 30, to year 1, to year 2, and so forth after that? I have essentially this little gift that I was giving myself every single day. And that was input and consideration around how I was feeling. And now maybe it's time to open those up and share. Like, this is what I was feeling. This is what I was experiencing. Because day 31 will come. Year 1 will pass. The next day does get better. Like, everything gets a little bit collectively better. But if there's something that's holding you back because you're just so used to always getting permission, I think we've always had hall passes in life. As kids, we were taught to ask for those, to just use the bathroom or step out of the classroom for a little bit. Like we learned at a young age to ask permission from someone else to do anything we wanted. And now here I am in my 40s, and it's kind of silly that it's finally occurring to me that if that's something I want, like, it's just time to go get it. To produce the video series that is really unpolished, unproduced, as you can certainly tell, but that really starts to address like something that's at the heart of the matter for me, and that's helping other people who are maybe struggling with some things that from life that happens on the sidewalk. And then when you go ask for help, it's just really hard to find. So just something to consider, like, where in life are you waiting for permission? And maybe where in life are you the one that needs to give permission to yourself to go try it out?